SiteSpect was proud to release Enhanced Analytics in May 2020. Your decisions are only as good as the data on which you base them. Our Enhanced Analytics package is the latest addition in support of that idea and SiteSpect's better data promise. Enhanced Analytics bundles two of our premium data solutions to finely tune your data and help data-driven decisions. Our Outlier Data feature, new as of May 1st, 2020, automatically identifies and normalizes anomalous data points so they don't skew results. Our Real User Monitoring, or RUM solution, which has been available in the past as a site-wide feature, is now also offered at the campaign level. Unlike other optimization tools, where RUM exists as a bolt-on, standalone, or not at all, SiteSpect provides RUM data in a single view, fully integrated into campaign reporting. Rather than toggling and manually correlating RUM data, SiteSpect allows you to layer granular user statistics into any report to fully understand how variations are impacting your site speed and business KPIs. Now let's talk a bit deeper about Outlier Data and Real User Monitoring. Outliers are data points that fall significantly outside the expected value range. Outliers often have the undesired effect of adding noise to testing results, reports, and analytics. For example, one very large order value can skew an entire test result for average order value and drive an incorrect and costly business decision. By default, when you enable this feature, SiteSpect will identify any data point as an outlier that is at least 3 standard deviations away from the mean. But you can easily change this number to fit your own data and analytics standards. SiteSpect's outlier feature can be applied to 2 data types. Number 1, totals. For example, total adds to cart, or 2, values, like order value. Once we identify an outlier or several outlier data points, there are 2 options for dealing with them. Filtering removes the entire visit, including the outlier and any other data collected as part of that visit. Smoothing replaces the outlier data point with the dataset's average. This approach has the benefit of normalizing the outlier data point while still keeping all other data collected as part of the visit.
Outliers is known to be a really important problem. If you ignore them, you may very well drive the wrong conclusion. If I don't filter out outliers, I may think I have a negative impact on average order value. If I filter them out, I now see that that's not the case. I actually have a slightly positive impact on order value. You can see it's not massive, right? It's 200 out of 100,000 visits, and you can see the absolute skew here. The more I think you get on this topic of outliers, the more context is really important. And there's some systematic ways to remove outliers, but there's also a validation. There might be legit cases where you have an outlier because the concept that you're testing actually has a direct impact on that. And while it may look like an outlier, it might be an actually perfectly okay data point. So it's always good, I think, to do this cross-analysis and make sure that it all makes sense in the context of what you're doing.
This is something that some of our customers have been doing in a real manual, laborious fashion. So this, the value prop there is not only able to sort of finely tune your data, but also saves you a lot of time organizationally in terms of assessing data and reporting.
Real User Monitoring, or RUM for short, captures and analyzes actual user interactions with your website or application using performance measurements from a user's browser. In site optimization and personalization, these granular metrics help show the impact of personalization and other site variations on performance and user experience. Here is a sampling of the type of assignment, performance, and user agent metrics collected within RUM. The value of RUM is that you can see the impact of variations on site performance and the impact of site performance on conversion. You can see if new releases are impacting performance and address issues with those new releases or features. And as mentioned earlier, unlike other optimization tools where RUM may exist as a bolt-on, standalone tool, or not exist at all, SiteSpect provides RUM data fully integrated into campaign reporting. Here again is SiteSpect's Director of Product, Paul Bernier, explaining the evolution of RUM in the SiteSpect platform and showing how RUM data helps tell the full story of a site variation campaign.
This is what RUM used to be. It would be the site level report. And what this would do, you'd have here a RUM report as part of the site performance tab. And this would allow you to get some reporting around at a high level. If you were to dive into specific requests, you could sort of look at these RUM requests and all these timestamps and whatnot, and essentially mapping the site level performance. And so that's what RUM has been. And what we've heard is, hey, I'm running this test and I have these different variations, and I would want to sort of correlate that. You know, what is the performance of my various experiences that I'm testing? How do I see that? And then you'd have to dive into essentially this tool here and sort of analyze these different requests. You can set up a filter to only look at certain variation group IDs and then see what these reports look like, and you have these different windows open. So what I'm trying to say is it wasn't necessarily built for that, right? The initial one was really just site level performance. And I think there's value there, but it's a different piece. So what we've moved to is in campaign. And so let me show you what it looks like. Essentially, it's really a metric, just like any other metric that we have the ability to collect, except those specific metrics, they are showing performance timings. Okay, so here I have my default report. I have a summary view. This test in particular is looking at large images versus regular size images on category list pages. You've probably seen this scenario before. We use it quite a bit in our regular sort of analytics demo. And when we ran this test, we saw that we had an increase in add to cart. It's highly significant, hence the 3 green dots. It's also generating an additional 2.6% in purchases, also statistically significant. But what's interesting and strange is that it's having a negative impact here on order value and revenue per visit. So let's leave that aside for now. But say we're just trying to understand, okay, so what could explain that these large images, beyond the fact that, you know, there's a behavior, there's possibly a better user experience that goes with it, what could help support the story of how these large images are generating more add to carts and more purchases? And one way here that we get to have an additional set of data points is by combining the RUM data points with the business metrics. And so here I'm still looking at my add to cart and my purchases in combination with a number of page performance metrics. So I have 3 here. I'm just showing here what I think are 3 interesting, probably things that are easier, I would say, to convey and relate to as an average user of these analytics reports. And as someone who would be in a analytics or A/B testing role. So what we're looking at is the page load time. This is the overall load time for everything on the page to load, to render, to download all these external scripts, etc. And if you see here, we actually have a higher page load time. So if you look at the average here, these are milliseconds. So 2.3 seconds for the large images versus 2.2 seconds here for my control. And so we're having an increase in overall load time, which is not good. When you're trying to do a test, this is not necessarily a good thing. However, in this particular test, we can see that even with the large images making those pages bigger, we still had positive business results. So if we keep going in this story here, the time to interactive here is lower. So time to interactive is how long does it take before the user can interact with the page. And you know, an important optimization technique that you hear in the marketplace is that you want to lower this as much as possible. You want to make it so the user does not have to wait for everything to be loaded before they can interface with your site. And so what we've managed to do is that even though we're making the page bigger to download with all these images, we've used, let's say, lazy loading here so that we're only loading the images that are within the viewport. And we've managed to lower the time to interactive for this variation. And so here you get, you know, a story that's really beyond just the business metrics, and it helps you really understand the impact of page size and other optimizations you could do. So if I summarize, our large images, they're contributing positively to the business metrics, add to cart purchases, for all sorts of reasons. Probably it's you could argue that the bigger images allow people to see the product in greater details. It helps them make the right choice and ultimately pushes more purchases. And we can also see that by having clever client-side optimization, we can lower time to interactive, even if we have an overall load time that's higher. So you really get the whole picture.